As always, don't forget to check the video description down below for the best prices on tools and parts we use in today's project. Today, we're checking out this Crown Vic. We had a skip code. It was like a P0306 or something like that. Any of your P0300, which I think is random multiple misfire, all the way up to P0308, those are all each individual cylinder skips. We're going to show you how to hopefully figure out which cylinder it is that's skipping. And the reason that's important, especially on one like this, is if you have an ignition coil skipping, you just want to replace one ignition coil. It's pretty expensive to buy 8 ignition coils. So we're going to show you today how to locate which cylinder it is. Let's check it out. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to start the car, and the method we're going to show you, it really only works if the car is shaken and skipping at an idle. If it doesn't work, then this method is not going to help you figure it out. But you'll see this is still very helpful. This will help you locate which cylinder it is. So we're going to go ahead and start the car, and if it's shaken and you can feel a skip in the engine, what we're going to do, come over here and show these ignition coils. We're going to begin to unplug each ignition coil. So I'll unplug, and if the engine changes during that unplug, we know this cylinder was working. We click it back in, we come to the next one, unplug, and let's say this was the cylinder that is the problem. Let's say it's the spark plug that's causing the problem. So we unplug it, you'll have no change. That's because this cylinder is already not firing. And that's how you'll determine if you have a skip. And basically you just do that. Now, my suggestion would be, if you find just one cylinder skipping, is go ahead and replace all your spark plugs, and then replace that spark plug and that ignition coil if you can afford to do it that way. And then that should most of the time take care of that skipping issue. If you're really working on a budget, maybe just go ahead and replace all your spark plugs and then turn it back on, see if it's still skipping. You'll also know, like, when the spark plugs come out, if it's really bad spark plug, you'll know there's a good chance it resolved the issue. If the spark plugs aren't that bad, a lot of times it is that ignition coil. And if you're on a really tight budget, I mean, you can just replace the only thing that is causing the skip. The other thing you can do to verify an ignition coil is you could take this ignition coil off, and you could take, and this is, okay, if you don't know if it's the spark plug or the ignition coil, let's say this one's skipping. So if I want to determine if it was this ignition coil or that spark plug, what I could do is I could take this ignition coil off and this ignition coil off, swap them, start it back up, and then I would unplug this one, okay? If I unplug it and this one's still skipping, then we know it's the spark plug. Or, I mean, it could be a fuel injector. There's a few other things that could be that are going to be more difficult to repair. But if I come over here and unplug it and there's no change, then I would know it was the ignition coil. Like, if this one, I come over here, unplug it, there is a change, it dies down, and then I come over here and unplug this one, there's no change, then I'll know that when I switch the ignition coils, it changed with the ignition coil. So that's a way to test the ignition coil or the spark plug. Let's see, other common things would be like your fuel injector. You could have a compression problem, like a head gasket. I'm trying to think. That's all I can really think of right now, but anyways, that's a good method of trying to figure out, which cylinder it is and what it is causing the skip. So that's it, y'all. Thanks for watching.